Have you experienced the awesome power of the Panasonic Real 3DO system? Obviously.
Presenting 3DO, the most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
3DO from Panasonic, Gold Star, and Creative Labs. A new low price and free games.
Mind-blowing graphics of Panasonic Real 3DO.
3DO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast where we talk about the 3DO console, the company behind it, and everything in between. I am Bill, and this is my co-host, Threk. How you doing, Threk?
Oh, I'm very excited today. How are you doing?
Doing good. Got through another work week. Year's coming to an end, so it feels like 2023 just started like a month ago, but
It's weird people say September is when the year is coming to an end, but it's like, we're in the second half, but,
you know what?
I don't view it coming to an end until it's like, like Thanksgiving starts appearing, because it feels like we just kind of rush towards the end, with all the holidays and everything.
I feel like it's because of like how these 4 months, like September, October, November, and December, are just like loaded with like holidays.
Yeah.
Because it's like we got Labor Day, then Columbus Day, then
Indigenous Peoples Day. Fuck Columbus.
Yeah. To me, it's
Put
just
that
a
on
day
my
off.
tombstone.
It's a day off. That's all I care about.
Yeah, that's fair. But like, that fucker doesn't deserve any credit.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. I see my calendar and it's just there, and I'm like, cool, day off. Some people don't get that one off, so it's like
I fucking don't.
No.
I don't think that's a time and a half day. I mean, it might be, because I know where I work, if it's like a bank federal holiday, we get time and a half for it. So, which I'll never say no to that.
Yeah. It's on my list of holidays I don't give a shit about, so I just like take the day, basically.
Yeah. Columbus Day has an interesting history. If I remember correctly, it has to do with when the Italians were starting to come over to emigrate to the U.S., and they were being treated like shit because they're Italians, of course.
Yeah.
And they're trying to be like, no, an Italian discovered this place, Christopher Columbus. And then they kind of push that propaganda along, and that's kind of where we are today.
Yeah.
I believe that's the shortened version of that.
And then I just think of the SpongeBob episode with Happy Leif Erikson Day.
See, I would celebrate that. A man who actually landed on this continent,
True.
Jurga Hagen Durgan.
See, as a kid, I never got that joke, and then like we learned about it in school, and I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense.
Yeah, but speaking of Leif Erikson, we get to talk about my boys, the Minnesota Vikings, today, because we are discussing real-ass football and fake-ass football. I'll let you, the viewer, fill in the blank on which one is which. We are talking about...
Apologies to our European fans.
Hey, they can fill in the blanks on their own, because we're discussing John Madden Football, which was released, I believe, in 1994?
Yes.
94, 95. And then FIFA International Soccer, which doesn't have a year. I don't see one. It says 94 on the box.
It was released. So this is where it's a little interesting. The Madden game is 100% original for the 3DO.
Yes.
The FIFA game is a port of the original FIFA. So it originally came out in 93, and then the 3DO version was a 94 port with slight updates.
Gotcha. Well, the original was like December 93, so if you said 94, I think some people wouldn't be too upset.
No, I mean, I don't think a lot of people remember the original FIFA, to be honest.
No. Like, these are two series that are still going strong today.
Yes.
When I say when I say going strong, I don't necessarily mean in quality. I just mean in terms of popularity and success. Even though FIFA, as we know it from EA, is dead.
Yes.
Because for those who don't know the story, I believe it was last year or the year before, last couple years, FIFA wanted to, I guess, they wanted to be capitalists and get more money, so they were going to up the FIFA license charge that they were charging EA to use for the FIFA license. EA, of course, as we all know, FIFA is one of the best-selling games every year. It's a big deal to some people, and FIFA wanted more money. I think they were like doubling. They were doubling the price,
It
and
wouldn't surprise me at all.
yeah, and EA basically said "fuck off." And from what I hear, FIFA is actually working on making a game itself, and now EA FIFA has just turned into was it like EA Sports FC Club, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And I believe the first one of those is coming out this year. I don't think it's out yet. But Madden 24 came out, I believe, last August. We are now full on NFL season as well.
Mm-hmm. NASCAR ratings have been tanking, so that means football season started.
Yeah. I got my Minnesota Vikings jersey on. I am ready. Some people do find it weird that I am a native Ohioan, yet I root for a team from Minnesota. If you want the story on that, it was the early 2000s. I believe they were playing the Cincinnati Bengals, which are the quote unquote home team around where I live. And I am not a Bengals fan. I never have and never will be. And I believe they were playing them on TV. And I liked that they were purple. I liked their logo. And I liked the idea of like, oh, Vikings, that's cool. I like as like a little kid, I was like, oh, that's really neat. And my mom bought me a Randy Moss jersey. He was still playing with them at the time. And
Randy Moss, I remember him.
Yeah, and he's one of the all-time greats. And I've been a fan of the Vikings ever since. So I am a loyal, dedicated fan of pain. But I think most NFL franchises, their fans live through years and years of pain.
Yeah, unless you're from where I'm from, and then we had it good for a long time.
You had 20 years of success, and now you're back to the mediocrity that you were at before. So it feels right. You got your 20 years. You got a bajillion Super Bowls. You good.
Yep,
Okay?
and then the main guy responsible for it left, and suddenly we suck.
Yeah, and he won a Super Bowl with his new team.
He won a Super Bowl with the freaking joke, one of the jokes of the league down south, and then suddenly made them relevant for a year.
Well, the thing is, that was their second Super Bowl. They won one back in like 2002.
Yep, I remember 2002.
Yeah,
that was the year everyone thought the Patriots were a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, but like that 02 Bucks team, that was such a like a freak sort of accident, Well, so it was like that. It was that 1 year they just kind of slid in and just eviscerated everybody and won the bowl. Like they had Brad Johnson at quarterback, former Viking. They had Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Symbian Rice. Like they had a really fucking good team.
From what I remember, like what happened with that was like the coach that built that team, he got fired right at the start of the season.
John Gruden?
Yeah, I believe.
No, Gruden was there the whole season.
No, I think it was the guy before Gruden, the guy who actually built the team.
Tony Dungy. Yeah, that makes sense.
Dungy built the team, and then he was fired, and then Gruden got them through because he was such a good team. But then, of course, he wasn't as good as Dungy was, so they just kind of sank from that on.
Gruden's an okay coach. He's okay. I mean, he has a Super Bowl ring.
True.
Yeah. Well, and also Tony Dungy has one as well. In fact, he started his coaching days in Minnesota, not the Vikings, but the Golden Gophers as a defensive back coach. He was a defensive back coach for the Vikings from 92 to about 95. But of course, as we all know, he was Tampa Bay head coach for many years, and then he went to, of course, the Colts, and he got his Super Bowl with the Colts. I believe he also has a Super Bowl as a player as well, because he played for the Steelers in the 70s.
Was that Colts Super Bowl the one Super Bowl that they won with Manning, or am I thinking of
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, it was the one against the Bears, which I love how people forget that the Bears have actually been to another Super Bowl since 1985. And it was this year with Rex Grossman as their fucking quarterback. It was so weird. But the Colts won with that, and then Manning got his second Super Bowl with the Broncos.
Yep, the year that freaking Newton choked.
Yeah. Where Cam the mask came off, and we were all fooled.
It's funny how you brought up 85, talking about one of the biggest beat downs in fucking NFL history.
Was against the Patriots. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you
Back
ever
when they
fi-
were a joke.
Do you ever find it weird that Peyton and Eli Manning both have won 2 Super Bowls?
Well, I mean, I can't forget that Eli's won too.
Yeah, but it's just weird to me because everybody would say that Peyton's the better quarterback. I think we could all agree on that.
Yeah,
But
I mean, he is. He had the Colts are a fucking terrible organization when it comes to protecting their players at times. So
yeah, like when he came in, they were just in complete disarray, and his first year as a Colt was really bad. But to give Peyton all the credit in the world, he made it work.
I'm pretty sure Manning carried that team for years.
He carried it for a couple years. I think when Marvin Harrison came in, and then they had I forget their running back at the time. That really helped propel them. It took a couple years. It did take because they hit that Super Bowl in 2007, and Manning got drafted in 99, 98 time. So
Yes.
it took them quite a few years to get there. But but that's the thing. Credit to Peyton. He made it work.
I don't think it was 2007 because 2007 was the Giants Super Bowl.
Well, the Super Bowl for the 06 season is in
right, yeah, because they're off a year. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I always mix that up.
Yeah. So yeah, Super Bowl.
I was gonna say I can't forget. I think I was gonna say I can't forget that 07 Super Bowl. That was one of the most.
Oh, were you a Patriots fan that one year?
Well, no, I mean I was a casual fan up until around. It was actually probably like a year after the year Brady got hurt is when I kind of fell off.
Oh, 2008?
Yeah, I kind of just lost interest because I think NASCAR was getting interesting again at that point.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know what it was? Because Jeff Gordon had like the greatest season ever in 07. And then he just sucked in 08. And I remember it was like a really weird dichotomy going on there for a minute. But yeah, that 07 was a really interesting year as a Patriots fan just because that was probably one of the greatest teams to not seal the deal.
That's honestly the greatest team to not win a Super Bowl. They went 16-0. There's only 2 teams in the NFL's history that has won every normal season game, them and the 72 Dolphins.
Yep.
And the Patriots kind of plowed through everybody in the playoffs, divisionally in the AFC Championship. And I know probably because you're in New England, you didn't have the same sense where everybody else was we want to see them lose.
Oh, we knew. Everyone knew. It was very... So the way it was...
Us against them.
The way the Patriots, the character, arc of the Patriots went was 2001, it was the biggest feel-good story ever. Everyone loved it. Then everyone thought they were a one-hit wonder. And then they came back in 2003 or 2003, won again. And people were... Ironically, that Super Bowl's more known for the freaking... Janet Jackson incident than anything.
Yeah, that's a whole thing.
Then we had the famous the Eagles Super Bowl and the famous Donovan McNabb throwing up in his helmet at the end of the game. That was great.
Eagles fans went through a lot of shit, but now that they're good, Eagles fans have become even more insufferable.
They threw snowballs at Santa.
That was back in '68, I think.
Yeah. I remember that because after 04, then it was that's when the true hatred of the Patriots came. And then, of course, 07 was a big thing. And then it was kind of from there that the villain arc really started.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I was there. Yeah, because they won the Super Bowls in 01. They missed 02 with a 9-7. Went through 03 and 04. Took 2 years off from the Super Bowl. Then came back in 07, with that that famous season, and then didn't go back to the bowl until what was it, 2014, I think.
Well, there was the second Giants game. I think that was actually 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I remember the 08 season they were 11-5, but they didn't qualify for the playoffs, which is crazy.
The fact that Matt Castle actually got them that far, I still think is amazing.
Yeah. But it's weird because it's weird being in the post Brady era. We're finally he's done for good. He's not coming back. He's supposed to be a commentator next year. We'll see how that goes. I'm not confident in it.
No,
and
probably.
just because like I've heard interviews with this man. I've heard this man try to like conversate and be like a human, and it just doesn't really work. You know, like
So now
like
that
he's too stilted.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he's using this year for the computer programmers to type up a personality to feed into his like system or something.
mean,
but
now that he's retired, though, is like the general consensus pretty much people just accept that he was probably the greatest quarterback ever.
I mean, he was.
Well, I mean, there's no denying it, but there's still people who like are still salty about for the Patriots that they're like they don't want to admit it.
I think if you are like an AFC East fan, like if you're say like a Bills fan or what else? Like a Jets fan, a Dolphins fan, you probably still hold some resentment against them. But you know, me, you know, NFC North, I couldn't give two shits, you know. Like
The way I look at the Brady dynasty is like at the time everyone hated it, but now you have to kind of look back at it and just respect it for like how good they were.
it's one of those that when you view it as a historical thing, it's perfectly fine. That it happened, it's done. You know, the Patriots are back to being not great again. Like Mac Jones ain't it.
No,
The
he's
Cam
not.
experiment flopped flat on its face. I'm pretty sure this is going to be Belichick's last season.
I've heard that.
Honestly, I don't think he's going to get fired. I think he's probably just going to be like, "Hey, I'm done," and he'll probably move up to like an executive chair or something, and
think
be fine.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, and that's fine. You know, like Belichick, you know, he has what 8 fucking Super Bowls. He's fine.
You know what's funny though? Like
He's probably the greatest head coach of all time.
he is, but I feel like they needed each other to truly like
Yes,
be what they were.
I
It's
agree
like
because when Brady went to Tampa, he had that one good year, and then like because I think he had to win that one bowl with the Bucks to prove that he could do it.
yeah.
And then after that, he just was bad.
Well,
it
the
was back
team
to,
also
like-
just wasn't nearly as good.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, you have Mike Evans, but you know you need more than one good receiver, and it's just like, and plus he's aging, he's getting older, and you know a late 30s something quarterback, or like I think he's in his 40s at that point, like quarterback can't carry a whole team on his back, you know.
Yeah. I mean, they did okay their second year. Like him coming back the third year was a mistake, though.
Yes. Last season was just bad. Like they squeaked into the playoffs, squeaked in there, just because they were the least shitty team in that division, which wasn't a good division anyways, and got their asses handed to them by the Cowboys of all teams. Of course, we all hate the Cowboys, as we should, and you know that was it. And he's like, okay, I'm done now.
You know, it's really funny though, looking back, like at like so like when I look at the Patriots dynasty, I always kind of think of it. It's like two halves. You got the first half, and then that latter half, and those like the 2 Super Bowls, the one against the Seahawks, and then the one against the Falcons.
Oh yeah,
2 of the most intense. Like you don't have to be a Patriots fan to like accept that those 2 Super Bowls might be 2 of the greatest Super Bowls ever.
I'm trying to think which one was the Seahawks one. Is that the one the Seahawks won?
No, it was the previous year they spanked Peyton Manning and the
Colts.
he was at the
He was at Denver at that point.
the Broncos. Like they spanked them like bad. Like it was hilarious how bad they sucked. And then they came back the next year and they were up against the Patriots, and this was the famous the catch. I forget the guy on the Patriots. He can't Malcolm Butler catch.
Oh yeah,
where he intercepted and completely changed the outlook of the game.
Mm-hmm.
There was that one because like 5 minutes before too, there was like that crazy catch where the Seahawks guy was like breakdancing and catching the ball in the field.
Oh yeah. God,
and all the Patriots fans thought it was over.
Yeah.
The Falcons game, though, on the other hand, that one will forever live on as one of the greatest.
That one is amazing because my brother is a Falcons fan, and he's been a Falcons fan his whole life. I think he became a fan during like the Deion Sanders years, especially with like the Dirty Bird and everything. And you know, he's been a fan forever. So him seeing them go to another Super Bowl, I mean, they shouldn't have went the first time, but don't get me started. The second one, you know, this one, like I remember I was here when they're like, I wasn't watching the game because I just wasn't that interested. And I remember because my football fandom is kind of like, it comes in like waves, basically.
Yeah.
And like, I remember they were up 28-3. I remember, and my brother was he was so happy that he was like, the Falcons are going to finally win a Super Bowl. Finally, right? This is their second one ever in their history, right? And then he starts racking up the points.
Then Brady did what Brady does.
He does what he does. And I
You know
remember, and that's the thing. I had the game. I had like the score off to the side, and I was watching it as it happened, and I was hearing my brother getting just more and more and more angry. And by the end of it, I looked at the score and went, "No fucking way!"
Yeah, it was
and
insane.
I went out to where everybody was, and I was like, "Where is he? Is he okay?" And they're like, "He's taking a walk." he took a nice long walk, and then he came back, got his girlfriend, and they left. I don't know what happened, but I feel like it still lingers in his brain. You know, like every once in a while, I try to sneak a 28-3 joke in there. I try to, but I feel like for him, it's still a wound. You know, and
the Falcons will never live
poor
that
Matt
down.
Ryan. Poor Matt Ryan. Like, it wasn't his fault. It really wasn't. Like, he was trying his best, but it was just like the whole team collapsed, basically.
You know
like,
what I think cursed
like
them?
there was like, it was that one, I forget his name, but it was like the halfback who missed his blocking assignment, and Matt got sacked and they fumbled the ball. I think that was when everything went wrong. It was right there.
To me, you know what I think cursed them? It was when the owner of the team got down on the field and was gloating. I was like, "Oh no, dude, don't do that. You're literally."
God. It happens every fucking time. Every time some fucking player or anybody tries to like talk shit about the other team just kicks the shit out of them. Like when in week 1 of this season, when Jamar Chase was saying, like, you know, the Browns are little elves. We're going to kick the shit out of those little elves. And then they got their asses beat by Cleveland. And then Jamar said, "We lost to the little elves."
Yeah, it was.
But hey, at least he had enough self-awareness to admit, like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Well, it was like going back to the Seahawks game. That was like also the famous Super Bowl with the famous "I'm just here so I won't get fined" quote.
Oh yeah, God, I remember that.
Yeah,
I mean, the Seahawks did get their title. It was, wait, wasn't it before that?
Yeah, it was the previous year they did, and then they got spanked by the Patriots. Well, not spanked. It was actually a very close game, like most Patriots Super Bowls.
That is true. Oh yeah, because that was like Marshawn Lynch was there.
Yeah, he was the "I'm here so I won't get fined" guy.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson and everything. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, the Seahawks they might be okay this year.
Is Pete Carroll still the coach, or is?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
See, I like Pete Carroll. I like him a lot.
He's a former Patriots coach.
He's a nice. There's something about him. I just like his vibe. He has a good vibe to him, I think. And I mean, in last year they kind of shocked everybody by sneaking into the playoffs after the whole Russell Wilson trade, and Geno Smith kind of showed everybody that he's actually like kind of good.
Yeah,
or at least
the Jets kind of suck. I was just gonna use that Geno Smith's actually pretty good. I said, yeah, and the Jets kind of suck. Like that's
they're the Jets. They always suck.
Except for that one year they didn't, but that was like so long ago.
What, when they had Bill Parcells as their coach?
Well, the one Super Bowl they won.
Super Bowl. Oh yeah. With Joe Namath. What the fuck did Joe Namath do? Did he literally sign a deal with the devil or something? Like, how is it? Like, I something had to be fucked up because they've never had anything good since. It doesn't matter who they have as like head coach or as quarterback or whatever. They can never. They haven't even gone back to the Super Bowl since then.
No, I mean, the Aaron Rodgers thing is pretty funny, but to me, like when I think of the Jets, the moment that, just because I saw it live on TV, the moment that will always encapsulate that team forever is the butt fumble.
Love the butt fumble. In fact, I had to remind somebody about the butt fumble because I think Mark Sanchez is now like he does like commentating or something.
He's actually not bad. It's just
I'm sure he's fine.
He's forever going to be known for the butt fumble.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. When they said, when they were like, "Oh, that was Mark Sanchez," I'm like, "Oh, butt fumble." I just call him butt fumble, and they're like, "Butt fumble," and then I had to explain.
You have to show him the clip. It's the greatest clip.
Yeah,
ever.
yeah. But I just explained it to him, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that was him." I'm like, "Yes, it was."
See, that's a classic one. My other favorite quote ever is the Matt Hasselbeck Super Bowl quote. We want the ball because we're going to score, and then he immediately fumbled. Like that was a great one too.
I feel bad for Hasselbeck. He was good.
He was good. He just never had a good team. Like he got up there like twice, and then
that bowl he went to against the Steelers. Like I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like a lot of ref ball kind of hurt Seattle's chances because there's a lot of iffy calls in that game if you watch it back. There are some iffy ones. Like were they for the Steelers? I don't fucking know, and I honestly don't fucking care. But it's happened more than once where the refs kind of decide a game. It's happened. So
yep,
it's a shame, But hey, the Vikings haven't been to a Super Bowl since 1977, so
yep.
They've gotten close. They've gotten close, but not quite there.
Anyways, so this isn't a football podcast, but we are talking about something vaguely football related.
Yeah. Vaguely, it's a fucking video. It's a fucking football video game.
You know what I mean?
with debatably the most iconic head coach in NFL history.
That is true.
And
one of the most famous commentators. Too.
So what if he beat the Minnesota Vikings to win a Super Bowl ring? I'm not fucking bitter. I'm not. I wasn't even alive then. Why should I give a shit?
I mean, hey, one of the greatest football coaches of all time owns one of the greatest NASCAR teams of all time. So,
who's that?
Joe Gibbs.
Oh, Joe Gibbs. Oh, was he the guy who bought the Commanders?
Did he buy them? I know he brought them to their 3 Super Bowls.
Well, he did coach them. I don't know if he's because
he was the coach for the 3 Super Bowls they got.
Okay, so what team does he own?
He had a stake in the Falcons for a while. I heard he was trying to buy the Commanders at one point.
Okay, well, because the Commanders have a new team, or they have a new owner now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because Snyder's gone, right?
Thank fucking God.
I always think of
Josh Harris. Josh Harris is the new owner of the Commanders.
See, I always think of the South Park episode where he got
Dan Snyder was such a piece of shit, and he just drove that franchise into the ground, like to the point where like people I know who live in DC, they're like, we're not fans because Dan Snyder sucks.
Yeah,
and I don't blame them. But now that he's gone, maybe they'll cheer for him. I don't know. I wish they had stuck with football team because that was such a lovely meta name. Football. just stick with football team. It's so silly. It kind of works. Like Commanders is just lame. It sounds like a shitty high school team. Like I was of the opinion they should have went Washington Red Tails because the Red Tails were, I believe, part of the Tuskegee Airmen.
They were,
and a lot of the Tuskegee Airmen lived in DC, so it kind of made sense. You could keep, the same color scheme, kind of the same iconography, and not have it be fucking racist. You could have had it all. You could have kept everything, just take off the native logo and then do the red tail thing, and people would have been like, "That's nice. That's nice." Some people may have said virtue signaling, but hey, it's a lot better than a fucking racist term for a Native American. So yeah,
I agree though. I kind of like just calling it Washington Football Team.
Yeah, fuck it.
I mean, we already have
like
the
how many
Browns.
soccer teams are just football club?
Yeah.
Well, the Browns are called the Browns because of the guy who made them.
Yeah, I know. It's just I was going to say
that's different.
I was going to say if we were going to have like a generic like logo, we already have the Browns have just the brown helmet, so.
Yeah, but the Browns are like the football team.
True.
For better or for worse.
They're either like they were one of the best back in the day, and now they're just a lovable meme.
Well, they could have if I remember the season, they got dismantled when Art Modell in the middle of the season decided to fuck off. Like when they entered, I think it was 95. When they entered the 95 season, they were like the underdog Super Bowl pick. Because last year the year before they had gotten to a playoff game and they'd won a playoff game with Vinny Testaverde as their quarterback, and who was head coach of the Browns at the end?
I believe that was Belichick.
It was Belichick,
Yeah.
and he had a really good coaching staff around him. He had assembled a pretty solid team. Like somehow Vinny Testaverde looked pretty good. Like I think they were on track to actually make a deep playoff run in '95. I don't know if they would have got to the bowl, but I think they were primed to get back to like the AFC Championship. And they were tied for first. And like I think it was like week 10 when Art Modell was like, we're gonna move to Baltimore. I think it was probably like stadium bullshit, which seems to be the issue whenever owners move the team. It's for fucking stadiums. And Art Modell's kind of a piece of shit too. I mean, Paul Brown has some iffy stuff, but like Art Modell is kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So, and then the Browns became the Ravens. It's so weird how like back in the day, the Colts were in Baltimore.
Yep.
And then Robert Irsay, who's also a piece of shit, moved the team in the dead of the night with the Mayflower vans. Very notable to the point where anybody who lives in Baltimore, and they were around then, if you mention the Irsays, they haven't forgiven them, and they never will, because it was really shitty what they did. And so the Colts moved to Indianapolis, where they've been ever since, and Indy's totally fine with it. And so Baltimore didn't have a team for a long time, and then they stole the team from Cleveland to get their own team, but it's not the Baltimore Browns, which kind of would have worked, but it would just be weird if they were the Baltimore Browns, so they just made them the Ravens.
Yeah.
And so Cleveland didn't have a team for a few years, and then they came back as the Browns in '99, and then they've been absolute dog shit ever since, because they had a foundation for something really good in the mid-'90s, and all that moved to Baltimore, which has won a couple Super Bowls, and the new Browns have nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like, how many playoff games have they won since they've come back? Like 2?
Maybe.
Fucking 2, maybe? Yeah.
Hey,
it's
their fans have heart, though. I mean, they celebrate their 0-whatever seasons. So.
They couldn't even go 0-16 in 2016. That was the year they should have just fucking did it, but that's the year they went 1-15, because Hugh Jackson's a moron. And so 2017 is when they went 0-16, and then that's when... And Hugh Jackson didn't even get fired at that point after those 2 seasons. He was still their head coach going into the next season, and then he got fired.
Yeah.
and then they finally hit the playoffs in 2020. They've made 2 playoff appearances since coming back. Once in 2002, where they lost to Pittsburgh in the wild card, and then in 2020, where they beat Pittsburgh in the wild card, which that was a big moment. And then they lost to Kansas City in the divisional round. Not by that much, though. But they did lose to them. So, yeah, they've won 1 playoff game since 1999.
Good times.
At least with, like, say, my Vikings, right? Like, they're consistently good. Like, if you look at their stats, they have the highest like winning percentage of any team that hasn't won the Super Bowl, and it's like not even close. Like, honestly, they should have had one by now, at least one.
Isn't that where Brett Favre went for a while after he left the Green Bay? Yeah.
So, yeah, the whole Brett Favre retirement thing, which started, I think it was like in 2002, and went till 2008 when he retired from the Jets, or he retired from the Packers, and then 5 months later he went to the Jets. Played in that season. I think the Jets quarterback was Pennington, and then he went down to Miami, and then Miami had a pretty good season, and then they met in the playoffs, and Miami beat them, which was kind of cathartic. And because funnily enough, my sister is a Dolphins fan. I think she became a fan in the Marino era and has stuck with them ever since, so good for her. And she's doing fine now. They got Tua and Tyreek. They're fine. And then, Brett retired again. And then I remember at that time, because it was such a big deal, the whole Brett Favre bullshit. I'm sure you remember. Like, it was everywhere.
Well, I remember because he was the Green Bay when they beat New England 96.
Oh, yeah, that's when he got his one ring. And then, there's like private planes being sent to his house, and it was a whole thing. And then he signed with the Vikings. Of all fucking teams, of all teams to pick, he chose like Green Bay's #1 rival in their division. the fucking Vikings.
Yeah.
And it was so weird. Like, as a Vikings fan, it was so weird to be cheering for him. But, I mean, you could argue that year he played with the Vikings was the 09 year was like his best year ever. Like, his stats that year were incredible for a 40-year-old quarterback, too.
Yeah.
Like, that 09 Vikings team was really fucking good. They had Adrian Peterson, Sidney Rice, Percy Harvin, Jared Allen on defense. Like, they had a really solid defense. Like, that was a good fucking team. And honestly, I think they should have won that NFC championship game against the Saints, but that was the whole Bounty Gate bullshit that was going on at the time. And if you watch it back, the whole game, they're beating the shit out of Favre, which I think kind of wore him down, and might have been why he threw that pick at the end of the near the end that cost them the game.
Yeah.
In my opinion. You know, and that might be why Packers fans were able to forgive Favre, because he didn't get that Super Bowl with the Vikings. It would be curious to know what would have happened. But
who's the Packers quarterback now?
Jordan Love.
Okay.
He's been the backup for Aaron for a couple years now, and then when Aaron fucked off to get a season-ending injury, like, he kind of left Jordan Love out to pasture, which I think is a little unfair to him. But
is it just officially just like, has everyone just accepted that Aaron Rodgers was a one-hit wonder?
No. What do you mean by one that? What do you mean by that?
Well, he had the one Super Bowl, and then he was just never really.
Well, he's had like 2 MVPs, and like he's put up good numbers. Like, I honestly, I think Aaron Rodgers is way more overrated than, like, say a Brady. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Vikings guy and I've had to deal with his bullshit for years, but like,
well, I never got the hype for Rodgers.
Like he's a good quarterback. He's absolutely a good quarterback, a great quarterback even. But I've always said that, like, yeah, like, if you think about it, Green Bay have had probably 2 of the best quarterbacks ever, in Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, as far as recent history goes. And yet, in the whole time they've had both, they've only gotten 2 Super Bowls. Only 2. Whereas during the Lombardi years, when they had Bart Starr as their quarterback, they won the first 2 back to back. So, which is why the trophy's called the Lombardi Trophy. So, I think it just shows that, like, the Packers, I've always thought they put a little too much stock in just the quarterback and then just kind of leaving a bit of the rest of the team out for pasture. Like, their defense has always been kind of iffy, and I forget which year it was. It might have been 21, where their special teams cost them that playoff game against, I think it was the Niners. Where, like, the offense was playing really well, the defense wasn't too bad, but their special teams just fucked them up, and it cost them the game. And so I don't want to hear special teams doesn't matter. It does. It has costed teams games.
Yeah.
Like, what year? I forget. There was a specific Chargers team that, like, that year they had the number 1 ranked offense, the number 1 ranked defense, and their special teams was ranked really, really low. And that's what cost them, like, any playoff run was their special teams. So, yeah. But anyways, I was trying to say is that I think the Vikings in that 70s run with the Bud Grant, Fran Tarkenton, Purple People Eaters, like, they should have got a fucking Super Bowl in that run from, like, 73 to 76, where they went to, like, 3 Super Bowls in, like, 4 years. It was fucking ridiculous. Like, and fucking 75, where Tarkenton had his MVP year, and, like, that was the year they probably would have won it had they went that year, but that was the Hail Mary play with Drew Pearson and the Cowboys. It was clearly interference, but we're not going to go there. It was a mess. Like, the Vikings, I don't want to say they're snake bitten, but they've just had a lot of bad luck where they've put together amazing teams, genuinely some of the best teams in the NFL ever. And yet they've just never been able to pull off winning the big one. And it fucking sucks.
Yeah. So, going back
talking about video games.
Yeah,
right?
we should probably talk about the 3DO games, because we're gonna go on forever at this point.
I mean, I'm sure some of our non-sports listeners have clicked off by now,
or maybe not. They might have stuck around just because it's somewhat interesting. But
yeah, but it's something that, like, like, really, football is, like, the only sport I genuinely give a shit about. Golf to a lesser extent, but I couldn't tell you anything about the PGA. But I feel like a lot of my love for football It comes from a lot of different factors. One, just kind of being surrounded by it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, if you're an American, it's kind of just part of living as an American.
Well, they
for
always
better
say,
or for
like,
worse.
if you're an American, like, the sports that just sum up America are like football, NASCAR, and like the Indy 500. It's just
Yeah. Well, baseball a little bit, but I know baseball has well, it's weird. American football is the only like American sport that has not gotten like any international like popularity at all. I mean, the NFL started to do some like European games. There was the European League for a while. But
Yeah.
like, baseball is really popular in like Latin American countries and Japan and things. Like NASCAR or just racing in general. Racing is just like a worldwide sport.
NASCAR
Everybody,
famously went to Japan back in the 90s multiple times.
how'd that go?
It was great. I mean, they were exhibition races. They didn't count for points, but it was just cool because what made it cool was not only did they race in Japan, but they also like invited Japanese drivers to like join in. So you had like a mix of like the talent, like Dale Earnhardt's, Jeff Gordon's and stuff, and then you also had like a bunch of Japanese drivers no one had ever heard of before that just joined in.
Well, none of us dumbass Americans never heard of.
Well, yeah, obviously in Japan they were
Yeah.
probably well known, but
Yeah,
what's
but,
cool
like-
is some of them actually came back and like raced over here in America just to see what it was like over here.
Yeah, but is like all the other sports, like even basketball has like worldwide popularity, whereas like American football just hasn't really. I mean, there's the Canadian Football League, but beyond that, like there's no, as far as I know, there's no other like football leagues being made like separately in like Europe or Africa or Asia or Australia.
Yeah.
Like I think Australia, I think in Australia rugby's really big, which is like that weird hybrid of like American football and soccer.
Yeah, where it's just brutal.
Yeah. I enjoy watching rugby, but whenever I see it, I'm just like, I feel like these guys need like helmets or something. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason American football, they all have like all these fucking pads and helmets and shit. There's a reason.
Well, I just love how like American sports are like really fascinating to me because they kind of just like got created in the most ridiculous ways possible.
Yeah, like American
NASCAR
football is such a weird fucking sport if you think about it. It is so fucking weird, and how like regimented, and it's like if Risk was a fucking sport. You know what I mean? It's like it's all like weirdly turn based, and there's all these like different rules and regulation, and it's very regimented and specific.
Oh yeah.
Which almost feels like very un-American, whereas Americans just like, free, do whatever the fuck you want, right?
Well,
Or at least that's so you think like something like soccer would translate over here, but like soccer,
it's starting to.
I honestly don't give a shit about soccer just because I've tried watching it, and
it's more fun to
like,
play than it is to actually watch.
Oh yeah, I've played soccer off and on, and it's a lot of fun, and I feel like I would enjoy the atmosphere of being at a soccer game. Like the chanting and the infamous, soccer club, the soccer match crowds. Like those would be fun to be a part of. Like I would vibe to it, but watching it on TV, I don't get the same effect. Whereas with football, I played football many years ago when I was a kid, but I've never like been to an NFL game. I'm sure they're great, but you can still watch it on TV and get the same experience,
Yeah. I've only ever been to a preseason game. So.
Yeah. I mean, the Vikings and the Bengals are playing this year. I'd love to go. I don't know if I'll be able to, but because it's rare whenever the Vikings play around here, but NFC North, AFC North, whatever. But any case, video games. So, as I was trying to say, I think a lot of my love for football doesn't just stem from like being around it and everything, but also through football video games, because they've always been a part of like my regular playing. Because I grew up with the Sega Genesis and the NES, so we had the Maddens, we had the Tecmo Bowls.
Tecmo Bowl, that is still a fun one even to this
Tecmo
day.
Tecmo Super Bowl, still one of the best football games ever made. Fantastic. Bo Jackson Simulator, it's great. But we also had some of the earlier Maddens, like Madden 95 and Madden 96. And I believe the first Madden on Sega Genesis, which is like 1990, I think.
Yeah. So
And those were part of my normal rotation with
Mm.
like Sonic and Mortal Kombat. Like I would just play those.
And we'd be totally remiss not to mention like EA Sports. Just
Yes. Well, I mean, this is both these games are EA Sports games. So,
and
and really EA Sports was what made EA like the conglomerate that it is today.
I mean, one of the most
Really?
iconic sounds you would hear from gaming during the early 2000s and like late 90s was the classic just booting up an EA Sports game and just the EA Sports to the
It's in the
key.
game.
Like
Like they started doing that, I believe. Madden 96 has that. Yeah, like even like that far back. If I remember correctly, Madden 96, it opens with that. It has this weird like montage to the like the "We Will Rock You" beat, but it's like the fans going like stomp, stomp, clap.
Yep.
You know, Madden 96, and then it shows the Madden Bowl champion. I believe they still do the Madden Bowl, where they have like players play like Madden in like a tournament setting, and whoever wins is like the Madden Bowl guy. I think they still do that.
I'm sure
And I
they
think-
do. It's probably an esports thing now.
Yeah, and I think Madden 96 was the first to do it, and it shows him, it was Reggie something, and then Madden 96 just starts up. In fact, Madden 96 was the first that had like training camp drills, and those are so much fucking fun. I don't know if you've ever messed with those
Not
in like
really.
in like the football games, but the drills are great. Like just running like they were better in like the PS2 era where it's like you'd set up, they would have like the like sort of the automatic like little like I don't know exactly what they're called, but they would like be replacements for linemen, and they would like open up holes, and you'd have the quarterback and the two running backs trying to go through them, like practice, like, you know, running through holes, and you'd have like defenders, and yeah, that shit was fun. You know, that shit is fun. It's fun. And some of the later Maddens as well, they had like these weird like football dummies that would chase after you in the drills, like they would just like waddle around at you, and it's great. Like Madden used to be great.
Madden's peak to me was like from like the early 2000s up until around 2007, 7 or 8. Like right when they switched over to HD is when things kind of really started going down.
Oh God, yes.
This granted, this happened with every EA Sports like series because like the NASCAR games too. Like the second they went to HD, they started going downhill quick.
Yeah. It's so weird that like, because with Madden, like in my opinion, Madden hasn't been good in like a decade. Like Madden 13 was like the first bad one because at that point I think they had shedded all of the PS2 era completely. Or no, that's when they switched to PS4. And when they switched to PS4 is when everything went bad. Because Madden up until 08, I think. Yeah, Madden 08, the Scott the Woz, haha. It was the last PS2 one, I believe.
Yes.
So, and all those Maddens up to that point, even though you're still in the 360 era, they all were basing them on the PS2 engine.
Yes.
So they're all still good. Like they're great even. Like they're still fucking fantastic. Like even today, like my favorite Madden is probably 04, the one with Michael Vick on the cover.
Yep.
That one just felt like the most.
Yeah.
He's atoned for his sins.
I know he
Shut
has.
up.
I know it was
God,
just.
I can't fucking deal with that. But anyways,
He had a bad point.
Hey, he fucked up. He fucked up, but he atoned for it. He did what was asked of him by society, and he has kept his nose clean ever since. So I think he's fine. Everybody's allowed to fuck up once, okay? Everybody's allowed. It's okay. Anyway,
I just haven't thought about him in forever. That's why it kind of
I think
popped
he
in my
does
head.
commentary now because I think I saw him like in a suit on like one of the stations talking about some game or whatever, and I'm like, oh, there's Vic. I'm sure some people were very happy to see him there. Anyways, but yeah, like Madden used to be like great, and you could argue that Madden is part of why EA became the big conglomerate that it is today.
I'd say it is. Now, honestly, I think the reason why that it's fallen is because they got too.
They own it.
They got too like sure of themselves because like we've talked about this off podcast, but the greatest football game ever made in a lot of people's opinions is
ESPN NFL 2K5. Yes,
Terrell Owens on the cover.
Yes, another fine, upstanding citizen.
Yeah.
Now Tio's fine. He's just a little wacky.
I mean, most of these guys are kind of wacky, but
I mean, in the contact sport, it's going to mess with your brain.
Yes.
Anyways, Yeah, like I missed the NFL 2K series. I still grieve it to this day because it was Madden's big rival. And
And
I mean, even in that era, that you still had like NFL Game Day, Quarterback Club.
Yep.
You had NFL Blitz. Oh, I put so many hours in NFL Blitz 2003 on the GameCube.
Honestly,
that was my fucking game, dude.
I think
Love that.
what happened with Madden was they got a 2K5 was so good that they were afraid that they weren't going to ever be able to top it, so they freaked out and bought the license. And then, of course,
Yeah.
once you get rid of competition, you're inevitably going to stagnate because you have nothing to really innovate with. So, like,
Yeah, because by that point, like the game days and everything, those had kind of gone away. You know, like Acclaim kind of stopped making sports games, like Midway kind of stopped making sports games. Like a lot of these companies just stopped entirely.
Well, EA actually, a lot of people don't realize this, but EA bought like every sports license at the time. Like,
Not all of them.
They bought a lot of them though. Like they bought the NASCAR license. I remember that because it killed off the PC games and the Heat series for a long time.
Yeah, but like NBA and NHL, and even like the PGA stuff, like they still get other licensed games. Still, I mean, obviously those still have their 2K series as well.
Well, because 2K was just better at basketball.
Well, plus I don't think the NBA wanted. I wouldn't be surprised if EA went to the NBA and said, "Hey, how much for exclusive NBA rights?" And they probably just went, "No."
Yeah, I mean,
because I think by everybody's standards, NBA 2K is the better series than NBA Live.
I mean, it's also like how the MLB has been just Sony's had it for so long now.
The show, yeah, but I think that's just because no other company wants to make an MLB game. Because baseball just isn't anywhere near as popular as it used to be. So, like, because if you think in the NES Genesis days, even the Super Nintendo days, there were fucking baseball games everywhere. RBI, bases loaded, World Series baseball, like
baseball stars,
baseball, like loads of them. It is like if you go to like an NES ROM site and just like go to B, so many games that have baseball in the title is ridiculous. But there was also ones like a Cyber War. Was it Cyber Base Wars? Or I think it was Base Wars, where it's like robots playing baseball in like a floating like baseball diamond in the middle of space, and they have to fight each other when like to prevent from getting out or safe or whatever. Like that game is awesome. Shouts out to Konami for that one, or Ultra Games, Konami. But yeah, like it's so weird because EA created their biggest rival in the NFL 2K series because
because they wouldn't make games for Sega, so Sega had to make
for the Dreamcast. Yeah, so they contacted Visual Concepts and they're like, "Hey, can you guys make a kick-ass like NFL game for the Dreamcast?" And they're like, "Yeah, we can do that." And they made NFL 2K. And I was saying, I've played all the 2K games. I love them all to death. They're all still by today's standards, good. Like especially 2K4 and 2K5 when they started having like the ESPN license in there. And it's so funny that there's YouTubers who are like maybe around our age or even a little younger who like maybe they're like Madden guys, you know, like that's just their thing. And they're like, "Oh, I keep hearing about this NFL 2K5 thing." And then they, always talk about, "Oh, it's on this ancient device called the PlayStation 2 or, whatever.
Or Xbox."
Yeah. Most of them go for the PS2 version. But
because it's easier to find.
Yeah, but they play it and then they're like, "Yeah, this game looks old, but like, for its time, it looks good." And they play it and they're like, "Why does this like play better than Madden does now? Like, why does this have more features to it and it's just all around a much more well-made product?" And that's just because Visual Concepts are incredible. Like, fucking Sega dub. And that. Well, and also NFL 2K5, it had all this, that well-complete game, and it launched at $20.
That was the killer. I think actually that was the main reason why EA bought the license.
Yes, because NFL 2K5 is like the most complete football game ever made, and it launched at $20.
That's part of the reason I owned it as a kid was because it was so cheap.
Yeah, like EA when Madden 05 came out, they had to make it $30 to compete. They didn't have a choice, and I think that pissed them off because when they did Madden 06, which is when they did the big EA Sports rebranding.
Yep.
And they had the exclusive NFL rights at that point. They could charge full price for it. And Madden 06 is okay. It's okay. But like when you play them on the 360, they just something about them doesn't feel right.
Yep.
But if you play like the PS2 version, it's like, no, this is still pretty solid.
It's like NASCAR 08 on the PS3 and 360 plays like shit, but if you play the PS2 version, it's like really good.
Yeah, exactly. It's just EA being lazy, and they're just and every year now with Madden, they're always going to say, "Oh, we changed something, we improved something," and it's like, but they've like taken features out and then try to bring them back. It's like new features, and everyone's like, "No, this was in the older ones. Why are you being, this shitty about it?" Like Madden is the prime example of like EA's shittiness, where it's like they can just like do the barest fucking minimum, and they'll still rake in millions of dollars because of Madden Ultimate Team, rebranding Madden as like a live service online competitive game.
Yep.
And those people don't really care about quality.
No,
the people who play them, who play those games, they don't give a shit. They really don't. They just want their Madden Ultimate Team, and they're fine. Like if you go to Metacritic and look at like Madden 24 or Madden 23 or whatever, like reviews for it, most of them are like incredibly negative, where everyone's like, this just sucks. It's just bad. It's been bad for a long time, and they're just not going to bother changing. Every year they say they're going to, and they're just not. But the people who give it positive reviews are just like, oh, these people are just, they just want to play old shit, But like the only positive things they ever say is about Madden Ultimate Team. That's all they ever talk about is what they like. So it's depressing, because Madden used to be good, and speaking of good Maddens, the 3DO Madden from 1994 is good.
Yeah.
It holds up.
You know what I love about this game?
What's that?
When you start it up, it has full motion video of John Madden, and that's just something charming about that.
They got John Madden in a studio, or just sit him in front of a green screen and be like, hey, can you pretend you're in the booth? It's
really charming.
Oh, wait, who was what? Not Al Michael, but the other one.
You probably know more than I would.
Fuck. I can see him. Fuck. Hold on. Let me. God damn it. You can edit all this out. I know you're not, but I'm gonna...
Who edits?
I mean, I would if you let me, but though you'd probably hate it because I would just edit shit like crazy. Pat Summerall. That's right, Pat Summerall. They're like, could you, do the commentating, but like, Pat's like, he's in the bathroom or something, just do all your thing, Madden. But I like it. Yeah, it is charming. And like, this is one of those games that's like, it has a bunch of FMV, but it's charming and it adds to the experience. Like all the players are FMV.
It was the tasteful way of adding FMV, not just trying to make the game all FMV.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's Mike Ditka's quarterback attack, which we can talk about at a later date.
Yeah.
I have some opinions on that game. Anyway, with this, it's like all the players are, fully FMV, which that must have been a pain in the ass recording those for the football guys. And then they have the ref is a full motion video when he does like the first down or the touchdown or whatever. And then whenever your team scores, they always, or the home team, I think, they cut to like a crowd of people going, yeah, woo! It's the same pan shot every time, but I love it.
Yeah. Another thing about this game that really looks nice is it uses a similar technique to what Road Rash did, where it uses digitized characters for the actual on the field like sprites.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to say.
Well, I thought you meant more like the full motion, like cutscenes that play throughout the game.
Well, that as well, but yeah, like all the characters are like Mortal Kombat people, like digitized actors. Which those sessions must have been a pain to record.
I'm
I
assuming.
can only imagine. But yeah, it's surprising that like at this point, Madden is a yearly series already. At this point, and they had just recently gotten the NFL license. Like this is the first, 94 was the first like Madden NFL. Because I think some people forget that the earlier Maddens do not have the NFL license because they couldn't afford it.
What I find interesting too is like
they could barely afford John Madden.
John Madden was a yearly series by this point, but made this one specifically for 3DO.
Yeah, yeah, and it came out. It's weird. It came out in '94, whereas
Yeah.
like Madden '94 on the Super Nintendo and Genesis came out in '93, right?
Yeah, it's like
Because that's what they do. It's like Cars. But here, yeah, they make it specifically in '94, but they don't call it Madden '94. They just
No.
call it John Madden Football.
and John Madden's right on the cover and with his like smug face, and I love it.
Oh yeah. Well, it was that way till I think it was like 2001. Yeah, 01 was the first to have the cover athlete, I
Yep.
believe.
And then the cover curse started.
Yeah, poor Eddie George. I think the Madden curse has kind of gone away a little bit. Like it's not
Well, yeah, when they put Brady on and he ended up winning, I mean, they
the
kind
Super
of,
Bowl. I think they did that with Mahomes as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't one of the years was Mahomes.
Wasn't
and
Mahomes and Brady on it like last year or something?
It was in 22.
Yeah.
Because 23 they did Madden again because that was the year he passed.
Yep, that's right.
And now this year is Josh Allen, and I mean if you want to talk about the Madden curse, Josh Allen's playing like shit right now.
Yeah.
But we're not going to go there.
So
I mean, and they had some cover athletes beforehand, like in certain regions.
yeah,
Like I think Barry Sanders is a cover athlete at one point, and that was in 2000. Which was that the year he retired?
possibly.
No, that was
No, I would-
98. 98's when Barry just fucked off. That's a whole nother story. The whole Barry Sanders leaving Detroit. Anyways. Yeah,
Yep.
they made this game specifically for the 3DO, but didn't number it at all, which is crazy to me because you would think with Madden being a yearly series, they have the NFL license, they would want to keep that door open for like another Madden the next year on the 3DO. But do you think the only reason they did this is because EA, Trip Hopkins, 3DO, like it all kind of comes
I
together?
have a strong suspicion that this was one of the more Trip Hawkins like kind of like sway kind of moments.
I think you're right.
Because I don't even think this game was made by the main EA Sports team. This game was made by High Score Productions.
They've made some of the Madden games.
Okay,
though.
so maybe that was just the team then that made them at the time.
It could have been because they are credited on I believe the Genesis version of Madden '94.
Okay, so maybe
Like
it is.
Visual, like I think Visual Concepts is doing the Super Nintendo ones, and High Score was doing the Genesis versions,
Okay,
or
so
it was Blue
that's-
Sky or one of those
Yep.
teams. Because if you play the Maddens on the Genesis and the SNES from those eras, they are different.
Yep.
Like they're fundamentally the same game, but there's enough difference to where it's like, oh yeah, different teams worked on these games.
Yeah. Yeah, that was common back with that era because like the systems were so different structurally that they had to make their own versions essentially.
Yeah. And I think most people would agree that in that era, the Genesis versions were better. Like the Super
Yes.
Nintendo versions of like the Mad games, I don't like them. There's something kind of off about them.
Genesis
you
was
play-
just faster. Like that was a big thing.
Well, I just think EA put more effort into the Sega Genesis stuff because Sega, as part of their marketing for the Genesis, was putting, they had a bunch of sports games at launch with the baseball. I think they had, what was it, Joe Montana football? Or was Bill Walsh college
Joe
football
Montana
or something
football.
like that?
Yep.
Yeah, so Sega from the start of the Genesis was like, hey, if you like sports games, you come here, and they had the sports audience crowd already. And I think, and in fact, I believe John Madden, the Madden's first console version was on the Sega Genesis in
Yes.
1990, whereas I think the Super Nintendo version didn't come out till the next year. So I think they knew right away, like the Genesis was their crowd. And if I remember correctly, their game, the Madden sold better on Genesis, like throughout the entire lifespan. Like even up till, I think the last one they did for was 98 or 97. Yeah, it was 98. They were still making Madden for the Sega Genesis in 1997.
That doesn't surprise me, honestly.
And they're not bad for what they are. You can tell like it's like struggling with the technology, but
Mhm.
it's still pretty solid for what it is. Like all the Genesis Maddens are kind of good.
That's
So-
kind of an EA thing though, because like I always think like the NASCAR games, like NASCAR 04 came out on the original PlayStation still.
Yeah.
Good old Stormfront Studios, if anyone remembers them.
Oh, what? I'm looking at the Wikipedia for Madden 98, and it says the PlayStation version of the game is playable in the collector's edition of Madden NFL 2005 with updated rosters.
Oh, that's interesting.
I got to track that down now. Fuck. Because I like that idea. That's cool.
So
See, that's the thing. They wouldn't do that now.
No, they wouldn't.
You know, I don't know if you know this, but the NHL series, right? Like everybody knows NHL 94. That's the big one, right?
Yeah.
It was quite a few years ago. They did it was like NHL Throwback, where they essentially put out like a ROM hack of 94, but with updated rosters. Like it's on Game Pass, EA Play. You could probably download it on all the stores for like $10 or something. But it's just NHL 94, but with like at that era's like that year's NHL roster. And it's really fucking cool. And I think people were saying like they should do this with like Madden 95 or something with the modern roster, you know? Like playing as Patrick Mahomes in like a Sega Genesis Madden 95 would be dope.
That would
But
be
they
cool.
didn't do it.
No,
but they didn't fucking do it.
Why would EA do that?
Yeah, they would do it for NHL, but not for Madden, which pisses me off. Like,
we need grass textures. That's more important.
I don't give a fuck. I
I
just
know.
want the game to be good because while like E ESPN NFL 2K5 is the best, they did make another football game.
Yeah.
It was All Pro Football 2K8 on the PS3 and the 360. And that's probably the best simulation football game we've ever gotten. Because if you play it, I mean, that has like a shit ton of like classic legend football players, and you kind of make a team with all of them and everything. But like the actual like simulation of the football experience on that is so fucking good. Like for a game from 2007. Like seriously, if you took that version and then threw the NFL license on it, people would be like, "Oh, this is just a brand new game." I don't think anybody would know it's a game from 07. Genuinely, I don't.
Yeah.
But to come back around to this, Madden on the 3DO, it's so weird, like the one-off thing, but it is good. Like genuinely good. It's based on, I think it's based on the Sega Genesis version.
It is with updated graphics and
Yeah.
So gameplay is pretty much lifted from the Genesis version, but everything else is bumped up for 3DO.
I call it the receiver window era.
Yep.
Which is when you go back to pass. For those who've never played the game, when you're the quarterback, you have to push a button, and then when you push a button, 3 little windows pop up on the top of the screen to show your 3 receivers, and you can kind of look at their coverage and kind of see where they are in their routes, and you can choose which one's the right one to throw to. You know, and the earlier Maddens did this. I think it was by like 96, 97. They got rid of it, I think. But they had like changed the field perspective so you could better see where your receivers are. But yeah, this game, like when I first played it, when I first got my 3DO, it was really fast. Like the speed of the game is noticeable. Like it almost feels like the game's on like fast forward a little bit, and it threw me off.
It's surprisingly quick for 3DO because 3DO wasn't notably the fastest console ever.
Yeah, but it feels, yeah, it just feels like somebody like, it's like if you watch a YouTube video at 1.5 speed when you don't mean to, it just kind of throws you off. But you get used to it, and I eventually got used to it, and you know, and led the Vikings to a couple of winning games because there's not a lot of features. Like there's no franchise mode, there's no season mode. The preseason season option are just like difficulty selectors. And then there is a tournament option, but the tournament is just like a tournament. Like it's nothing that really amazing. It's very lacking in features.
You can tell this is just a updated version of Madden 94, like in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's very bare bones. I think even Madden 94 had more features than this, but
probably. I mean, 3DO, they probably made this like hastily. They probably honestly put all their effort into bumping the graphics and just kind of hastily threw it together for the 3DO, because this was an early 3DO game, I want to say.
Yeah, it was early in the life. Early 94. So it was pretty quick, and yeah, it may have been like a quick turnaround to have a Madden for the 3DO. You know, it just kind of made sense. But I compare Madden football a little bit to Baseball Advance on the Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
Even though that game has a season mode, but both of them are very lacking in like extra content or extra modes or whatever. But the core game of it, like the core, you know, sport, is really good.
What did you think of using the 3DO controller? I felt it was a little stiff, but that's just kind of the 3DO controller in general.
I kind of just treat it like a Sega Genesis controller. And to
Okay.
be fair, I think the game itself, like, I don't even recall using the shoulder buttons for anything.
No, I didn't.
Like,
use
I
it.
have the long box of this because of course I do, and
It's
like
not
I
very
have
expensive for collectors, so
no. But what's really cool is outside of a really nice detailed manual, which gives you like the controller options for like every like position, like the kicker, defense, offense, before the snap, after the snap, whatever. And I don't recall ever seeing a X or Y or a L or R option like at all. It's all just ABC. So which says to me the Genesis version.
yeah.
But what's cool is it also comes with some like posters, and they're all posters of like, like the different. Well, there's one I think. Trying to see if I can. I don't want to completely pull it out, but it shows you all the teams and then all of like the player stats, because this game, while it has the NFL license, it doesn't have the NFL Players Association
Yes.
license, which is the union for the players, right? So say that the Minnesota Vikings, they have number 81 as their wide receiver, but they can't say he's Anthony Carter. Or, I believe at this point, the Packers have number 4 as their quarterback, but they can't say it's Brett Favre.
Yeah, the Patriots, it was 11, but they couldn't say Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, they couldn't say Drew Bledsoe.
Bledsoe,
Exactly.
that's a blast from
He
the
was
past.
good. He was a good player.
He was good, but he was severely inconsistent.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like Kirk Cousins. Anyway, but there's another poster in here that literally shows you all the different offensive lineups. I believe on the back it has the defensive lineups as well, and it shows you all the various like options you have. Yeah, it does for like if you choose the I formation, here's all the different plays you can do from the I formation or whatever. So it's cool to kind of have that.
It was
off to the side
an
a little
interesting
bit.
era where EA really cared. And honestly, that's
yeah.
one of my favorite things about 3DO long boxes, like these huge cases, is like the manuals were fucking cool because they could fit so much shit in them.
Yeah, and it's so detailed. Like when Madden agreed to be a part of this football series, one of his caveats was he wanted it to be as realistic as it could be. Like he was very into like, no, this has to be like football down to, as close as you could get to it. And he was in the early days really involved, making sure it was as accurate as possible. And he didn't want to, bait and switch the fans. How ironic. But and these days you can tell they are trying their fucking best to make it as accurate of a football simulator as they can. And it wasn't until maybe a good like 10 years later where they actually were able to like get closer to that and have these really fantastic games. But at that point, the dichotomy of EA had completely changed, and there was stiff competition, and Madden wasn't as involved as he was in the past. So things just kind of changed, unfortunately.
Yep.
Which is such a shame. Like I say all this stuff about Madden because I grew up playing these games. I have a fondness for them, and it's so funny how like through my life I've known a lot of like nerdy gamer types who scoff at the idea of me playing a football video game, and it's like Bubby, you're playing a game where like an elf will like stab like a demon in the eye to save some princess to give you a hand job. Like it's not high art, okay?
No,
like what you're doing isn't fucking high art compared to a football game.
See, there's a difference to me between appreciating a football game for what it is or being a gamer who only cares about football games and that's your life. Like,
yes,
there's a big difference there. Like, you can like a football game and not be considered a whatever Madden bros are these days.
Yeah, and it's so funny that like you could argue these Madden games are fucking RPGs because they have so much there's so much stats and numbers and all this tracking. It's like being into sports this way is just as fucking nerdy as like caring about the stats of your Final Fantasy character.
Oh,
like it's the same guy. You're both caring about numbers. It's just different representations of numbers. It's the same fucking thing.
Well, I always laugh.
So it's always funny how like they're always like kind of at war with each other, and it's like, guys, it's it's really not that different.
Oh yeah,
it's
like
really not.
well, I've never had an issue with sports games. Like I don't play them religiously by any means, but my reasoning
Me
is
either.
I can't say I dislike sports games because I love racing games and those are considered sports games technically.
Yeah, I mean, I put racing games in their own category
They
because I think
they're
definitely
technically
their own thing.
but they get categorized as sports games in the market, so that's why they're
Yeah, there's some. I can kind of see when people put racing and flying games together, even if I don't agree with that either. It's like, you're controlling a vehicle and that's the whole point of the game. But like putting, say, like a Forza Horizon next to like a Madden just feels weird to me.
Well, there's
like,
also
they're the same genre. It's like, not really.
well the thing with racing though is like racing games are very diverse because like
Oh, yeah.
an open world racer that's like its own, that's not really a sports game because like you're not really
No.
it's like comparing a NASCAR or F1 game to say like Gran Turismo or something. It's like they're not really the same.
Yeah, one's better than the other.
Yeah.
I don't mean to shit on the NASCAR games. I've actually
Well, no,
never
you
played them.
can. They've been shit for a long time.
Well, I've never played a NASCAR game in my entire life. Like, I've played a bunch of racing games. In fact, on the Genesis, we had I think it was called Andretti Racing.
Yep.
So I grew up on that.
There was
And
Andretti Racing, and there was
that game's okay.
there was
from memory.
Ayrton Senna's racing game as well.
Yeah. So like racing games have always been around, but yeah, looking at these like NASCAR 15, what the fuck is this?
Ugh.
This isn't even EA. This
No,
is
no,
like
EA dropped it after 09.
okay. The was it the Chase for the Cup series?
So, well, it was NASCAR Thunder, and then when they introduced the Chase bullshit, then they renamed it to Chase for the Cup, and then they just started doing NASCAR 07 and 08. Then after 09, they said, fuck it, we don't care anymore, and they dropped the license. There wasn't a NASCAR game for a year, and then 2011, Technics, the Ride to Hell guys, they started making NASCAR games.
Well, there's one that came out last year, but
yeah.
it was NASCAR Rivals.
Oh, Rivals.
Exclusively on the Switch. Why?
So fun fact with NASCAR Rivals is just an update of NASCAR Heat 5.
Okay. Yeah, because then there's NASCAR 21 Ignition.
That game's a dumpster fire from day one, and the company behind it is supposedly a scam.
Like, that's such a terrible subtitle for a fucking Ignition. Ew.
That game was so bad, NASCAR actually ripped the license away from the company that bought it. So
yeah, its Metacritic is a 53.
that's generous. But
Take
yeah,
your word for it.
going back to Madden on the 3DO.
It's great.
It's a fun.
I like it a lot.
It's a fun game. Like, I'm not even a huge Madden guy, and I enjoy it. So
Yeah, as the resident Madden guy here, I can safely say it's in the 90s era. It's pretty solid.
I love the retro uniforms too on all the players. Like, there's just something charming about that.
The kind of the generic ones as well.
Yeah,
because I don't think they really had the technology to put the logos on the helmets or anything. But yeah, seeing like the Vikings decked in all purple, always great. But yeah, it's like the 90s era for Madden. Like the Genesis ones, I think are all really solid. And then once you hit the PlayStation, Saturn, and N64 era, in fact, one of them is called Madden 64, which is hilarious.
Of course it is.
Yeah, because it was just 97, like, and so it's just Madden 97 on the N64. That's all it is.
Yep.
But because Nintendo 64, they decided to go ahead and do it, or it was technically Madden 98 because it came out in 97 anyway. But yeah, that era of Madden games are very. Like the PS1 era is very you had to be there. Like they haven't aged all that well.
Yeah.
But a lot of games from that era haven't aged very well. So like Madden 97 or Madden 98 that are on the Sega Genesis have aged better than their PlayStation, Sega Saturn counterparts, which is kind of weird to say. But also by that time you had like all these different companies doing football games. In fact, before NFL 2K, Sega was making a series just called NFL 98, NFL 97.
Yep.
So they were already doing them at that point, but they didn't have visual concepts yet, I don't think. Visual Concepts came in for the 2K series on the Dreamcast.
Yes,
Though I think didn't Visual Concepts make some Madden games?
they made the Super Nintendo ones, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right on that one. Yeah, which is weird because they're like the inferior ones to like High Score, but new technology.
Yeah, different time.
Yeah, and I think Sega probably gave them a better bag for it. So
Also, digital.
Because those the Sega Sports on the Saturn ones, those are made by Game Tech.
Yes,
That's right. Who made the Wheel of Fortune games?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, my two favorite.
So going into reception for this game, like it actually was very well received at the time. Like it was considered one of the best 3DO games. It still is considered one of the better 3DO games to this day.
Yeah. Like if we were to do a ranking of like the best 3DO sports games, if it isn't like number one, it's probably like in the top three.
Yeah.
Has to be.
I mean, I haven't played the golf games yet, so I don't know
Coming
yet.
Soon. We will be doing 3DO golf in the future.
Out of the two I have played so far, it is definitely the better of the two.
Fair enough.
Spoiler warning for what we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
I will say, like, my favorite part of this game is still the full motion video, like stuff. Like it makes this version stick out in like a positive way.
And it's like it's not that cheesy, like because when you see Madden on the screen, it's just Madden being Madden. Like it's no different than how he acts.
It looks good
than
too.
Anything else,
even
it's not bad for what it is. I mean, the game needs more turducken, of course, but I don't think the turducken was a thing at that point. But yeah, it's cool to see Madden in there. It's cool to see some production value.
I like how the players dance whenever you like get like a touchdown. Like,
oh yeah,
that's cute.
Yeah, that stuff's really good. But yeah, the gameplay is just if you've played any of the Sega Genesis Madden games, you're gonna fit right in there. Like it's gonna be a perfect fit. You may have to get used to the speed a little bit, but yeah, gameplay wise, it's still really good. Even by today's standards, I'd probably enjoy it more than any if I were to download Madden 23 and play it. Because the last new Madden game I played was I think like 16, I think, or something like that, and that I just couldn't handle it anymore.
I will say
I stuck around and I just couldn't do it, man. It just.
Did you mess around with the multiplayer at all, or
no? No.
I've heard
with this one, no, but I don't have two controllers.
True. I've heard it's okay. Like I've heard it's like the multiplayer in all Madden games. So
yeah, and I've never really done multiplayer with Madden. The multiplayer I've done with football games is more like, say, like Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like me and my brother used to play that a lot. He used to kick my ass as the Falcons just because he was really good at it. And I remember I did some multiplayer for NFL Street. Which love. I miss EA Sports big. That they were so good.
EA Sports big.
Yeah,
I love
like
that shit.
Because that was like the Tony Hawk era. So extreme sports games were everywhere. And seeing the NFL Street games, there were 3 of them, do their thing was just, they were so good. And they hold up. Like I still occasionally play NFL Street 2, and I love it. Like I made a team of like my friend group at the time. Like I made them all in NFL Street, and we like played like a season. And we did pretty well. But I know that the NFL itself said stop doing the street because they thought it was like a bad look, and they didn't want to like say to kids like, hey, you can just like, go out on like your concrete back alleys and just play football and you'll be fine. They didn't like, it was like kind of overemphasized, like it was like kind of cartooning up the violence of football.
Yeah.
A little bit. Which
Meanwhile,
I get where they're coming from. I do. But I don't know. It's like, I don't think kids are that fucking stupid. And then they made a game called NFL Tour, which is basically Diet NFL Street. It's still the same idea, but it's more sanitized. And I have NFL Tour, and it's okay. It is what it is, but it's not the masterpiece that is NFL Street 2, which is like also one of the best football games ever made because because it's more arcadey. It's like a weird mixture of like Madden and NFL Blitz. It's like it meets in the middle somewhere in there, but it's so much fun. I would love to see those games come back, but they never will.
Yeah, I'll say we're gonna save a must play, stay away, for the end when we do both of them. But if I was gonna give final thoughts, I'm gonna say, like, as someone who doesn't really care about football anymore, like, and really was never a huge Madden fan, I did enjoy playing this game. Like, I thought it was a good time. So make that.
How are your Patriots?
I mean, I won a couple games with them, so
That's good. That's good.
and it was fun seeing Bledsoe. Like those light blue like jerseys before they switched to the dark blue that they have now are kind of nostalgic for me. So
yeah, they looked much more like walking American flags than they do now.
It was a different vibe. It was interesting. I mean, say what you will about Bledsoe, he did get them to that Super Bowl with that one game. So
yeah, well, he technically has a Super Bowl ring.
He does.
He was on the team when they beat the Rams. So
well, because there was that one game, the championship game. I think Brady got hurt and Bledsoe finished the game and won it. So
yeah, was that the Tuck Rule game or
maybe? I know there was one game towards the end of the season where it was Brady got hurt and they threw Bledsoe in, and everyone was like, "No, we're doomed. We're gonna lose." And then Bledsoe ended up winning it. So,
which is so funny because that's what everyone said when Bledsoe got hurt, and then like in comes in this guy we've never heard of, Tom Brady, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're fucked." And then they start winning.
Well, yeah, that was like the running joke for years was like whenever a player got hurt and then like their replacement was just better, it's like, they got Bledsoed. Because that happened to Tony Romo.
Yeah, but to be fair, I think Romo's in a better spot now as a commentator. He was never that good of a quarterback.
No, I mean he was decent, but he also couldn't go a season without getting hurt. So
yeah, but I love Romo as a commentator.
Yeah, he's
great.
Really
if
good.
anything, he is our generation's Madden as a commentator.
He's very good, and he knows the game.
Because like you can tell he grew up listening to Madden, and I think he takes some influence from him when it comes to like his commentating, but he puts his own spin on it.
Then he's not biased at all either. Like he's very
well. I don't really think any of the commentators are biased, but there might be a couple. But like I like the team of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I think they're a very solid team, and I've never gotten biased vibes from any of them. But
maybe it's just because I'm a New Englander, and there was a point where like all the broadcasting teams just had it out for New England for the longest time. But
I think you're just being paranoid, my guy.
It was a time.
I know it's a time it's weird that it's past, but it is. We're in the Mahomes era now, and I remember when he was still new, right? And everyone's like, "Oh, I like Mahomes. I think they're going to be, Kansas City might be the new franchise team." And I remember saying, like, in a few years, you're all going to start hating him. And they're like, "No, we're not." I'm like, "Yeah, you are." And now we're at the point where people are starting to hate him.
Yep.
I knew it was going to happen. It always happens. Though I don't think Mahomes is as good as Brady.
No, Brady was his own thing. Like there'll never be another Brady.
Exactly. Like Mahomes is very good, but I think Mahomes makes too many little mistakes.
Yeah.
Like look, and also look at how they played when they didn't have Travis Kelce.
Yep.
So, just saying.
Okay.
So off of this boring ass American football. Sure. And on to FIFA International Soccer, released in, was it 1994?
Based off a 93 game.
Yes, for the Sega Genesis. Now, I think, is it fair to say you're not a soccer person?
Yeah. It's just, I have no problem with the game itself. I just find it incredibly boring to watch.
See, I'm the exact same way.
Like, to me, like, when a game goes on and everyone acts like it's the greatest thing ever, and then I find out the score was a 0-0 tie, I'm just kind of like, okay, cool.
I mean, there might be more to it.
Oh, I'm sure. From what I've heard, you have to be there, and you have to.
Yes.
It's kind of like a NASCAR race. You have to be there to really understand it sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. A lot, like half the fun of sports is spectating, but you have to spectate live, Like I think that's part of the appeal.
Well, it's like,
and I think with something like with a sport like soccer, like that's the whole point. Like you have to kind of be there to enjoy it, And as we've mentioned, we've both dabbled in playing soccer, and it's a fun sport to play.
I mean, everyone played youth
really,
soccer at one point.
Yeah, and it's when you play it, it's really engaging. Like you get into it.
Well, it's
But,
fun.
you know,
I just loved running around because I was a runner back in the day.
yeah, there's a funny story. I think it was in elementary school. There was like a little like soccer field up in the recess area, but it was in like the concrete section.
Yep.
But they had like the 2 goalposts up, and kids would just like kind of run around and just fuck around, right? And I kind of joined in with it. And I remember, like, I had the ball, right? Or no, I was going for the ball, and this kid, like, he just like kicked it, and it just hit me square, like dead center of the nose.
Oof.
Like didn't break, didn't bust my nose or, no injuries or anything. But I just remember my memory is when that happened, like everybody just stopped. Like it was like everybody hit pause, right?
Yep.
And I remember I just like turned to my left and just walked off and just sat down and just watched them play for the rest of the day.
Yep.
And everyone just kind of kept going.
See, like
That's how I remember it.
my favorite soccer memory wasn't even playing.
It's like right out of a movie.
Yeah. my favorite soccer moment wasn't even playing soccer. It was more just something that was adjacent to soccer where I was on the cross country team back in the day, and the soccer team used to always think like they were better than us because for some reason, and I was always like, whatever, guys. And they actually challenged.
Maybe they were getting laid or something.
Who knows? But they challenged us to a cross country meet because they thought they could be faster than us. And I remember being like, sure, all right, buddies. And the funniest thing ever, like we're at
and
this,
they totally were, right?
For about 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, their endurance probably.
Oh yeah. So like literally like we're at the start finish line and like we called it off, and the second we hit go, they were all gone, and I was just like, all right, we'll be seeing them in 5 minutes. And then I legit caught up to them because they were all dead halfway through the course, and I'm just like, see you guys. And like got to the end, and I'm waiting for them like, so how was that about beating us? I'm like,
Yeah, they're just sucking on air.
well, because I had to, that was where I basically explained to them like, cross country isn't about speed, it's about endurance, and there's a big difference there.
Yeah, there's a reason they say it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. I always remember that though, because the soccer team had to eat crow after that one.
I'm sure it was tasty.
Ironically, the girls' soccer team actually handled it better because they had more sense.
What a surprise! The women have more sense than the men. I can't believe it.
Like only a few of them killed themselves in the first 5 minutes. A lot of them like actually like kept pace with us, and I was like, okay, this is smart. Like you guys actually understand how running works.
They're gonna have to learn to run in the future. Anyway.
So FIFA.
Yeah, FIFA. As somebody who's never played a FIFA game ever, like
Same.
soccer,
This was my first one.
Just I've never had any interest in it. I know FIFA is like a big fucking deal, especially around the world. Like I believe it's like the best-selling sports franchise, like video game series ever.
Yeah,
and it's funny that it's appeal. Yeah, and it's funny that it's kind of going through this weird thing with it's now like EA Sports Football Club or whatever. And like I think FIFA, as I said, I think FIFA's trying to like license the IP out to another developer. Like maybe 2K might get in on it. I don't know, because I don't think they make soccer games.
No, because soccer and football are like the two that EA has a monopoly on.
Yeah, but to be fair, I think it was EA and FIFA kind of together worked out a deal. I don't think it was EA going to the FIFA saying, hey, we just want to buy the rights. I think it was just FIFA's just like, no, you can use our rights.
Yeah.
Because FIFA are known for being kind of pricks. Whereas like EA had to go to the NFL to buy the exclusive rights of the license, and who knows how much that cost them. Who knows how much that still costs them.
Probably a lot.
But NFL 2K is supposedly coming back. Like there is an NFL 2K game in the works that's supposedly more arcadey, but I think it's going to be more of like a Super Mega Baseball type game, if you know what I mean.
I'm honestly all kind of for that. So.
Where like it kind of toes the line between arcade and simulation, but it has to lean more in the arcade for the contract purposes. But I think a modern NFL 2K game will do better. Like I'll actually buy it and play it.
Well,
Whereas
it'll
I
be
just don't give
refreshing
two shits.
because people are just tired of Madden at this point.
Yeah, it's nice to well, and that's the thing. There's indie football games still being made,
Oh yeah.
but like nobody gives a shit about them because they don't say NFL on them.
Mhm.
Whereas seeing the return of NFL 2K would be a big deal, and I get the sense 2K want it to be right, so that's why like it's been in development for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So they want to get it right. So hopefully when it comes out, it's actually really good, and the NFL maybe rethinks their contract with EA. I would hope, but I'm not gonna hope that much.
So
Anyway, back to fucking FIFA. I've never played a FIFA game before until this, and I can safely say this is okay.
yeah, it was perfectly fine. Like I didn't have any.
I found it frustrating.
Well, that's just kind of soccer in general. Like when you're trying to play soccer, not actually playing soccer, I don't know why. There's just something about it that doesn't feel right.
It doesn't translate as well to video games as, say, like American football.
Yeah.
Whereas, American football, as I said, it's kind of like it's a bit slower base and turn based, and it's like you have to plan everything out beforehand. So you're just like, okay, I'm gonna choose this run play, and then everything gets set up, and you're like, okay, my guy's gonna go this way. You have time to think about it. It's like fucking Dragon Quest. You can think about what you do before you do it. Whereas soccer is just chaos.
Yeah, soccer is hard to follow.
Like you chuck the ball in the center of the field, and then guys just start, going like fucking crazy. It's like throwing like raw meat at rabid dogs. Just shit just starts happening, and yeah, it's hard to keep track of. And when I was playing this, I was like, what the fuck? Where's the god? Like the whole time, I was just trying to hang on to the ball because I would get the ball, and then almost immediately the guy would just like knock it out of me and steal it like almost immediately.
Yeah.
And then I would try to have to do that to come back, and I would just keep passing. Like I was pushing past like mad just to keep the ball as most as I can. But then my only chances to shoot were ever like usually from like halfway, and the goalie would obviously just grab it. But I did manage to score a goal. It was kind of lucky, but I managed to score a goal where I had one guy like shoot, and then had the goalie do like where he like leaps and does like, and he blocks it with his chest.
Yeah.
And when he's on the ground, you have another guy come in and just kick it, and just the goal just goes in.
Yeah.
I was able to do that, but the other team did that as well.
Yeah.
And I tried so fucking hard to repeat it so I could win the game 2-1, but I tied at 1-1.
The computer's very good in this game, and it kind of like makes it frustrating to play.
Yeah, there's no difficulty switch, is there? At least I didn't see one.
If there is, it's very hard to find. I mean, 3DO menus are weird, but
yeah.
Even for this one, like this one was particularly cryptic if it actually exists. So
yeah, because like with Madden, like preseason and season are your difficulty selectors.
yeah, Madden actually had a pretty
really,
decent
which is really
menu, all things
yeah.
considered.
I mean, it's really dumb that like that's where it hides like difficulty, but whatever. Yeah. Like, but yeah, the FIFA menus, I think are nicer. They have a much better presentation, but they're nowhere near as utilitarian.
Well, yeah, because this game is literally based off of the previous, the then current FIFA game.
Yeah.
The only real, so I did look at some. I actually emulated the Genesis version. I believe it was the Genesis version. Yeah, I emulated the Genesis version just to see. This version definitely looks better. They definitely,
of course,
they added some different camera angles too, which I thought was a nice touch.
I like the ambiance where they have like the people in the stands chanting, and then you hear like makeshift like cowbells and rattles going on as you're playing. Like there's this really cool ambiance that happens, and you kind of get sucked into it.
It's a very well-made game. I think it's more just the fact that I just don't care about soccer enough that kind of kept me from really enjoying it.
Yeah, and like I don't understand like soccer strategy or like how to like play FIFA games well.
Yeah, like the
like I'm not sure what the hell I'm doing as I'm playing this game.
When I play soccer games, I literally play soccer games like I play soccer, and it's basically I just run to one side of the field, run to the other side of the field, occasionally kick the ball.
Yeah, basically. And for what it is, it's fun, but would I play this for more than like what I played it for, which was like, I think I did I did 5-minute halves. So play this game for more than like 20 minutes, probably not.
Yeah, like literally, if I was gonna compare it to like Madden, like if I was gonna ever touch these games again, I'll probably play Madden again at some point. FIFA, that's probably going on the shelf, and I'm just gonna observe it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a soccer fan and you like the FIFA series and you haven't tried this one, give it a try, see what you think. But yeah, I think American football translates a lot better to video games than soccer does.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have like hockey, which is essentially Canadian soccer,
but it has fights, so it's more interesting.
Yeah, but like NHL games have been like consistently more interesting, I think. Again, like NHL 94 is kind of an iconic game.
Yeah.
As well. And as far as I know, the NHL games are still pretty solid, Yeah. Like I'm not a big hockey guy. Like I try to get into hockey, but I don't know, something about it it just doesn't stick. I don't know why. I enjoy watching hockey. Hockey's really cool to watch, but it's like I can't, the way I am about like the NFL. I can't do that with the NHL.
Well, it's kind of just the thing is like you get so into the sport that it's really hard to like be into multiple because you just got so much commitment.
Yeah, unless you're just like a complete sports weirdo who can pay attention to all this
shit.
Or
sports are just your life.
Yeah, like I think why a lot of people get into college and pro, like say football, like get into both, is because there's a lot of crossover already, so it's really easy to get into one or the other. Like I don't really like college sports in general, like watching them. Like some about like the NCAA just gives me the ick, man.
Yeah, I mean the only college football game I regularly watch is the Army Navy game, but that one's just special.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, whatever. Where I live, Ohio State, Michigan, that's a big deal every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never have to deal with that, because where I live, it's like, it's the Ohio State, Buckeyes and everything. And, and people get mad when I'd say they're probably the most overrated team in college football because they'll dominate in the regular season in the Big Ten. But then when they actually play good teams in the SEC, like Georgia or Alabama or Florida or whatever, they always get their ass beat, like stomped. Or last year when they played Georgia in one of the bowl games, I think they won by a point.
Yeah.
And in the entire regular season, they were destroying teams by like 20 points. You know what I mean? So it's like, are they really that good? They're really not that good. And Ohio State guys that get drafted in the NFL for the most part don't last that well. Like they don't have a lot of good draft prospects. Like Justin Fields, who's the quarterback for the Chicago Bears right now, and he's kind of not that great. He was drafted from Ohio State, and C.J. Stroud, who I believe is playing on the Texans, was also a Ohio State quarterback. Like the Ohio State doesn't have a good history of drafting quarterbacks into the NFL very well. They really don't.
So you want to know a fun fact about both of these games?
What's that?
So Atari, the Atari Corporation, which was for
Infogrames.
Yeah, the one that became Infogrames, yes.
Yes.
Not Atari Games, who became Midway, but that's besides the point. Atari Corporation actually signed a deal with EA to get both of these games ported to the Atari Jaguar. Unfortunately, the Jaguar did not make it in long enough for these games to be made. So
I was just about to say, those didn't happen, did they?
Nope. They were signed, they were planned, but the Jaguar died before they could be made.
A shame, because I think if any game would have saved the Jaguar and the Jaguar CD, it would have been FIFA International Soccer.
What's fun though is like the Jaguar actually has a pretty good football game, but that like Mutant League football game. So
no, it doesn't have Mutant League football. Because Mutant League football is that's like EA did that, because that's based on like the earlier Maddens, but they just kind of had a little fun with it, The football game that's on Jaguar, it's not Mutant League football, but what is it? I've played it. Brutal Sports Football.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, Brutal Sports Football, which is okay.
It's decent.
It is perfectly average. But Mutant League Football, like the older ones, are pretty good. I tried playing the reboot a couple years back, and I just didn't like it. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah, Brutal Sports. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
That's a game that.
Yeah, kiddos. If you haven't played Mutant League Football on the Sega Genesis, do yourself a favor. Even if you don't give two shits about Madden, fair enough. Play Mutant League Football because it's in Madden 93's engine, I believe, and it has all the trappings of like the earlier solid Madden games, but it's all like, aliens and skeletons and shit. So all you weird nerds will actually like it. And it's fun. Like, you can kill people. Like, you can kill the fucking ref. There's like mines on the field and everything. It is wacky. They even did Mutant League Hockey, which is just based on like NHL 93.
Yep.
Which is really good as well. So like, that's where you can kind of meet in the middle. Like, if you want your fantasy bullshit, you can get it here. Okay.
I miss back when like these companies used to do just like goofy spin-offs of sports games.
Yeah. Or even just like NFL Street. Like, I miss those.
NASCAR had one. It was NASCAR Rumble, and it was like a kart racer where they like drove off the tracks and you could like launch tornadoes and shit. It was the greatest shit ever.
Did you know Warhammer has a football?
I believe it.
It's called Blood Bowl.
I've heard of that. Yep.
It is a turn-based like tabletop, but it also has a series of video games that's been coming out here and there. I've been wanting to try them. I haven't tried them at all. But I'm really curious to try Blood Bowl because I've known some people who've played the tabletop Blood Bowl, and they're just like, just play the video game version. That's all they tell me is play that one.
You know something that's always bugged me?
What's that?
Why has Mario never gotten a football game?
Because Japan doesn't give a flying fuck about American football. It is what it is. Like, a Mario like football, not Mario Strikers, fuck Mario Strikers, but like a Mario American football would be amazing.
I just want to see once.
I've been wanting it forever, but it's never going to happen because Nintendo would have to. I mean, they're not going to make it. They would have to license it out to. I mean, what video game dev studio is
Retro Studios?
Oh yeah, they did have that one NFL.
They almost made an NFL game at one point.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, they're busy with Prime 4. Okay.
Oh yeah, that exists.
Yeah, I know. Didn't show up in the September Direct. Okay, I know. But I am confident that next year it's all going to be about the Switch 2, right? That's the plan. That's when we'll see Prime 4. It'll be cross-gen. It's going to be on both Switch 1 and Switch 2. I don't think they can get away with not having it on the original Switch. They're going to have it on both, and they'll probably use that game to show how much more powerful the new Switch is compared to the old Switch.
If they're smart, they will.
They're like, here's how Prime 4 runs on the first Switch, and it'll probably run really well. And they're like, but here's how it looks on Switch 2 with the NVIDIA magic behind it, DLSS and everything. And it'll look fucking gorgeous. That's probably what they're... If you, as you said, if they were smart, that's what they would do. I think that's what they will do. And so we'll probably see it in like February or March time next year.
I hope so.
That's my guess. If we don't see it at that point... something's fucking wrong at that point, but I'm not worried about it.
So, I guess now to wrap it up, we should probably do must play, okay, stay away for both of these games. I don't know about you, but rating wise, I'd say John Madden definitely a must play.
100%.
FIFA,
John Madden, baby, boom.
FIFA, it's okay. Like, it's not offensive at all. Like, it's definitely not a stay away, but you don't have to play it unless you're a soccer nut.
Yeah, like I don't give enough of a shit about soccer to say like stay away from it. Like, I know it's the most popular sport in the world. I understand that and I respect that. But just for me, don't care. But this game, it's fine. I'm sure if I went online and said like, oh, what's the best FIFA game? I'm sure somebody has like a detailed list going through all the differences between each of the fucking FIFAs. I'm sure somebody does. So whatever they say, play that one.
Yeah, like it's fine. There's literally it's like one of those cases where it's like a game that's perfectly fine. It's probably great to somebody, but to me personally, it's fine. It's okay.
Let's see. According to Game Rant, the number one FIFA is FIFA 14. So play FIFA 14 then.
Yeah. All right. So we got a double must play and a double okay.
You hear that, Will? We got a must play.
Well, I mean, we've had one before. Road Rash was a.
I know. I don't think he listens.
Would you say?
and if he does, I will.
So would you say Road Rash or John Madden is the better 3DO game? I'd still swing towards Road Rash. Yeah.
Road Rash. I love me some Madden, but like, am I really gonna say Madden's the best 3DO game? No. Like Road Rash is fucking incredible. Like I would like to continue my career at some point in that game, but for now I'm okay. Actually just started playing Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Oh, nice.
So I'm good right now. That game is awesome. So I'm good.
Yeah, like I always say, like the one clue that to me that Road Rash is still the best 3DO game to me is anytime I have the 3DO booted up, I always do at least one run of Road Rash just because it's there.
So, Bill.
Yes.
Does Madden or FIFA have a memory manager?
No.
The search continues.
Yep. We'll find what. Well, I know one game that does that we'll get to eventually, but I don't know if you want to talk about survival horror yet. So,
what do you think? I'm some kind of scaredy cat?
No, it's just that would require us to play Alone in the Dark, and I don't really want to play Alone in the Dark right now. Maybe for Halloween.
Are you scared?
Honestly, the scariest thing in that game is the graphics. So,
it looks like that one. Oh, what the hell's that band's name? Money for Nothing.
Yeah,
it's like that video. What's the name of that fucking band? Money for Nothing. God damn it!
Is that Primus?
No. That's the song. Dire Straits.
Dire Straits. Yeah, Primus. Yeah. I was thinking of the Beaver song for some reason.
Well, my mind goes to the fucking Weird Al parody.
Yeah.
Beverly Hillbillies, which is so stupid, but I love it.
All right. So,
little story
speaking
about
of that,
a man named Jed.
Speaking of that, though, what should we talk about next week?
Oh, that's a good one. I kind of want to do Club Invasion.
Club Invasion? Yeah, why not?
I've been curious to that one for a while now.
Yeah, so we'll do another party game. I think it's a party game, anyways. I'm just assuming
it's a party with all the voices in my head.
Yeah. All right. So next week we will talk about 3DO Club Invasion. Yeah, but once again, guys, thank you for joining us on 3DO Experience. 3DO Experience is on all the podcasting platforms. You can find all of our links at linktree/thebarberwhogames. And you can enjoy our Discord server if you'd like. It's a little wacky, but it's fun at the same time. We're all nice. And until next time, guys, we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with?